Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Pascal Clarkson. Hi Pascal, welcome back.
Welcome, thank you. Happy to be back.
Absolutely. So Team Tuesday is about the teams and how sometimes they become their own worst enemies. But before we jump into that, share with us, Pascal, what is potentially the book that most inspired you as a Scrum Master?
Right. So I'm not a big reader, but I love audiobooks. Just a little tip.
I guess those are also books, right?
Yeah, definitely. So the one that's my favorite is actually called From Contempt to Curiosity by Caitlin Walker. And it's where she describes how she got to develop the thing that she called systemic modeling. And in essence, it's a set of models that she uses in group facilitation and to really get people curious about each other. And it's already building up on yesterday's talk, is where once we get more interested in each other and know how people work, that's where we can also start to advocate for each other and to really say like, okay, so this is how I work at my best. And if I know that about that person or about my teammates, I can use that within our collaboration. And that's something that's really interesting. And I love the book.
Absolutely. So besides systemic modeling, perhaps this is a good introduction and those models. What is one other reason why Scrum Masters should read this book?
Another thing that we mentioned yesterday is that it's important to know which questions to ask. And it's one of the things that she uses within this facilitation is something called clean language or clean questions. And they're similar to powerful questions. Some people might know these things. And it's really about trying to identify the things to ask about that will prevent you from making assumptions and that will give you more information on what it is that you're actually talking about instead of just asking the next question down the road. Stick with the topic for a bit and explore it a bit more. So that's something that's been addressed in this book as well. And yeah, love it.
Absolutely. That's a great reference. And we'll put the link in the show notes for our listeners, of course, to find the book From Contempt to Curiosity and read it through. I'm sure there's a lot of lessons for Scrum Masters there. So, Pascal, now we turn our attention to the teams and how sometimes they become their own worst enemy. And this happens because some pattern, some behavior just starts spiraling and growing and leads to problems. So walk us through that, Pascal, that pattern or that behavior that slowly started to grow over time and eventually caused problems for the team.
So one of the examples that I have from my own experience is where I worked with a team, and even before I started working with this team, they were working together as a group for years already. And this one person within the team did a lot of work with the company. She'd been there for decades. And so she has a really, really rich history that comes with a lot of experience, that comes with a lot of ideas and insights. And they're not always as agile or as Scrum oriented as one might hope. And that was the case with this person as well. So every time when the team would start talking about, okay, maybe we can improve on this, or maybe we can improve on that, they usually came up with all these valid ideas about, oh, but have you thought about this, or how about that? So it's about seeing kind of we have a Dutch saying, like the bears on the road.
So she had like a knack to find the problems.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that people tended to do is like to not see the value in those problems or what it might bring them, but instead just like kind of push it aside, like, oh yeah, she's just being her stubborn self, or her whatever. So it's having those ideas about other teammates instead of really getting curious, like, okay, so what is the value that you're advocating for?
So what happened there? Like, let's explore this story. So I understand the concept. So there's someone who has a natural tendency to find the gaps in what we are discussing and kind of bringing them up. Some people are more polite about bringing them up. Some people are less polite, and that happens. That's okay. It's part of the game. We're all people. But what happened to the team? Like, when this person started bringing up the obvious gaps that they found, what happened? How did the team react?
So this yeah, in this case, it's a team that wasn't really voicing their problems that they had with this situation. They were just having the judgments in their minds, not saying much about it, especially not towards the person. But they would talk about it like during lunch or whatever. And what they ended up doing is just basically dismissing the person in the end, which of course is not good for team collaboration. And I really think that they missed certain valuable alterations to what they were doing, and might have not had certain bumps down the line if they had listened to her more closely.
So when you think about this state, I mean, this situation where there's someone in the team who naturally finds where the gaps are and raises those, and that causes a reaction in the team itself, obviously. In these situations, how do you wish you would have acted, and what have you learned from that you now apply in your work?
Right. So I think it's really interesting when there is some form of conflict to start getting curious, like, okay, what is the value that they are advocating for? What is their core value that they have, that they are frightened is being kind of like run down or neglected, and that's why they speak up, right? So the thing that I tend to do now is to really listen again and to see, like, okay, so what is it? Where's this coming from? And actually asking that question. Like, so if they are saying like, oh, well, right, this and this will happen, or it won't work, or we need to really think about these things, start getting curious, especially if they are, how you put it, like a bit more rough in how they voice their concerns. Just start acknowledge them, start being curious, and ask them questions about it. What is it exactly that they are afraid of or are concerned about? Because there's richness there. There's something that the team can take with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is our job as Scrum Masters to figure out what is behind people's actions and not just to be stuck on what they do or what they say, right? And I think that one of the things that you just mentioned is that this conflict or tension is normally there when there's enough contrast between the team members, when the team members see that, okay, I'm not like this person, so I'm going to dismiss them because they are not like me, right? Mm-hmm. And as Scrum Masters, we need to look at that as a sign that maybe there's something that needs to be talked about, because diversity brings different perspectives of, how do we solve problems? How do we identify problems? And that diversity can be rich for the team, can provide the team with a lot of insights and knowledge that they would otherwise miss.
Exactly. The diversity is something that we should be looking more towards, I guess. Being interested in it and discovering what is different between our points of views, and even what's different between us as persons, as people, is, I think that's where we can find huge progress and information. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that, Pascal.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.